Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for joining me. Today, I'm bringing you a 10-minute or less video on Vampire the Masquerade chapters. Now, the reason we're covering this at the moment is because the Pledge Manager just opened. So if you missed this Kickstarter, or if this is the very first time you're hearing of this title, you now are going to have one last opportunity to secure your copy before they all start arriving. This is going to be basically an RPG in a box. This video is designed to give you an overview of the aesthetic, the prototype we have on hand, and what exactly is happening in this title so that your interest will be piqued slightly. The next videos that are coming out are actually going to be some gameplay between Jan and myself, diving into this cooperative experience and figuring out if we're able to survive and fool the foolish humans into believing that vampires aren't real, or if we'll be caught and torn apart at the stake. Whatever the case, I hope you enjoy this video. Let's get started. The darkness of night is made up of many shadows, and in those inky black corridors of the world lurk many creatures and powers of which mortals are unaware. Humans believe that light is preeminent and that darkness is fleeting, but vampires, the creatures who own the night and rule ancient empires across the world, know where the true seat of influence rests. This is not a place for humanity, for the weak vessels that walk the streets of the city. This is a place for the kindred, the clans of the Calamara, which make up the ruling bodies of vampires, and for the feuds and power struggles that take place when one vampire seeks to wrest control from another. In Montreal, the world of shadows is in turmoil. A vacuum exists as the Sabbat, an outside group of vampires who don't bow to the Calamara, have suffered grievous injuries to their control of the city. The future of the city is at risk, but the Masquerade must be maintained to keep the ignorant humans unaware of the tremors that shake the dark. Write the story of Montreal with the blood of your enemies. Vampire the Masquerade Chapters from Flyos Games is a role-playing board game for 1 to 4 players. It is a narrative experience that invites players into the world of darkness and challenges them to take charge of an undead clan member and navigate the shadowy recesses of Montreal in a time of upheaval and conflict. The scenario-based story combines all the rich elements of role-playing with the strategic and accessible mechanics of board games. At its core, Chapters is a RPG in a box. With over 40 scenarios and gameplay divided into branching dialogue trees, spatial investigations, and blood-drenched combat, players will be able to determine their own story within the World of Darkness universe. The scenarios are designed to last around 30 minutes per player, and the fully realized world contains much to consider. The relationships between the clans of the Calamara are fraught at best, and their ever-present masquerade must be perpetuated to hide the truth from humans. The game combines elements of role-playing, strategy, and story, and the core mechanisms force players to deal with the high-impact combat, immersive dialogue encounters, and enthralling investigation opportunities. But we're talking about a role-playing game here, and at the core of every good role-playing game is going to be the cast of characters. Chapters is no different. While expansions offer alternatives, the main game has 8 characters hailing from the different Calamara and Anarch vampire clans. Choosing a character is important because it will determine their efficiency in the 3 spheres of play: combat, dialogue, and investigation. These characters also feature attributes, skills, and disciplines which reveal their characteristics as a vampire, their strengths as protagonists in the story, and their flaws that players will have to balance as the game progresses. While the possibilities in the game are immense, the gameplay is designed to be smooth and accessible. The story is divided up into scenarios so that the big feast that is Chapters has been broken up into little narrative bits that everyone can enjoy. Prologues ease the players into the mechanics, regular scenarios drive the story forward, and then the side quests present optional branching pathways that players can take on while in the middle of their campaign. This game will evolve as an experience. As players' characters grow in power and skill, objectives will differ from scenario to scenario, and the overarching story will unfold as you progress. If the idea of a role-playing game has always appealed to you, but the sheer amount of work involved, from the world building and character generation to the cooperative storytelling and DM-guided narration, has always scared you, then Vampire the Masquerade Chapters might be something you should look into. When I say it's an RPG in the box, that's not a hyperbole. The team at Flyos Games have condensed a truly special World of Darkness experience into separate chapters of a sprawling vampire narrative. The art is immersive, the gameplay is fine-tuned, and the potential is through the roof with what you'll be able to do with these characters. It's a thematic deep dive into a war-torn city of Montreal, where players will derive a lot of satisfaction from building characters into strong, influential actors in this blood stage play. If you're not looking for a commitment, though, then Chapters might not be what you need. It's a game that's broken into scenarios that can be played one at a time, but it's still a beast of a game. It's a game that rewards the returning player. It creates stories over time, and characters evolve in a way that encourages the long game. Players that aren't interested in a heavy strategy game should know that you'll be balancing the diverse disciplines, skills, and features of player characters against the core mechanics of the game. Each scenario will require unique tactics or strategies in order to move forward, and it's a cooperative game. So those that are looking for a competitive experience between players at the table may not derive as much pleasure from the gameplay, where success depends on working in tandem to complete an objective. Chapters is likely going to be one of the biggest and best ambassadors for Vampire the Masquerade and the World of Darkness. It is an absorbing narrative that grips players with a sharp claw and doesn't let you forget the stinging bite of its gameplay. If you want flavor text, immersion, and rewarding gameplay as characters rise up and gain thrilling new powers or skills, then this is probably the game for you. However, if you want something that dips into the World of Darkness without requiring as much time and energy, then maybe consider Vampire the Masquerade Vendetta, an asymmetrical card game from Horrible Guild, or Vampire the Masquerade Rivals, an expandable card game from Renegade Game Studios. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. Now, the script was written by a friend of mine that has actually played a lot of Chapters so far and is a fan of Vampire the Masquerade in general. It's going to be Devin Norris. He is actually the lead writer here at Quackalope, stealing Jan's position over on the website. So if you swing over to quackalope.com, you can find all of his incredible articles and written works. So I do want to shout out and say thank you for him helping me pull this preview together. Whatever the case, like I said, link in the top of this video description leading you over to the Pledge Manager, which just opened up, and hit that subscribe button because we have a lot more content coming to the channel of Chapters and a variety of other titles. We'd love for you to be a part of this community. Whatever the case though, whatever you do, remember to do the important thing, get out and play some games, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.